Good afternoon, beloved immortals living today as members of the human race across the ancient, sacred, living, planet sized body of the great goddess, Lady Gaia, who is known to the human race for ages now as Mother Earth and Mother Nature. My name is Commander Andragon. I'm the husband of Galextra, the being who is the human incarnation of the great goddess. I'm also her senior disciple, and I'm also a messenger from and for the coalition of goddesses and gods. I'm here today to speak to you about one of the most apocalyptic dreams that a human being has had on this planet in its entire history. As the title shows, this broadcast is about the apocalyptic childhood dream of Galextra of seeing America and Canada disappearing completely inside the body of the three oceans currently surrounding them. I will share with you the contents of the dream that Galextra gave to me to put on records a number of decades ago. And it's also in different documents that we've put together and will share with you in the future. The dream of Galextra, as she writes, when I was about 5 years old, I had a dream in which I saw the giant statue of a lady with her right hand fully extended and holding a golden lighted torch high above her head that lit up the sky above her. Let me get my glasses. This goddess was standing in a body of large water that was covering her waist with a radiant smile on her angelic looking face as she stood motionless, staring into the night sky. When I turned my head, wrong mouse, when I turned my head and looked again, the water had moved up to the neck of this giantess dressed in a white garment and had covered her entire body except for her head and hands. I looked away from that disturbing scene for a third time, and I saw the entire body of this goddess had disappeared almost completely inside a large body of water. The only part of her body that I could see was her extended right hand holding that lighted golden colored torch above the water that had engulfed her entire body. I turned away for a fourth time in my dream, and when I looked again, the golden colored torch that was held by the giant statue had vanished from view, as if it was never there in the first place. At that moment, I heard one of my sister goddesses telling me telepathically that the nation once known as the United States of America had just disappeared completely from the landmass of Mother Earth, deep inside the three oceans which surrounded that nation for many millenniums now. My sister goddess also informed me that the nation known previously as Canada had also disappeared from the face of Mother Earth at the same time. process that information. It's apocalyptic and shocking and stunning, my human sisters and brothers. And it's intended to be. And you'll find out more why I make this statement. To continue the avatar statement, I stored that disturbing dream somewhere inside my 5-year-old mind and kept it tucked away all throughout my childhood, all of my teenage years, and most of my adult life. That dream resurfaced into my conscious mind about 2 decades ago when my husband and I were living with our 2 teenage children at 48 Dunmill Drive in the city of Scarborough, Ontario, Canada. One evening, after we had finished our voice rehearsals with a lady named Marcella and her husband named Otto, who played the piano, and we were standing near the front door about to leave their home, I felt my sister goddess, Lady Gaia, moving and shifting the earth beneath my feet for what seemed like a long minute or two. Once the ground stopped moving under my feet, I asked my husband and our voice teacher if they had felt the ground shaking as I just did. And both of them replied that they had not felt the earth moving or shaking in any way. In that moment, it dawned on me that my sister goddess, the earth goddess, Lady Gaia, had just told me in no uncertain term that the vision that I was shown in my dream as a little girl was on course to come to pass at some point in my current lifetime. I also recalled in that moment the information I had shared with my mother, my beloved mother, who lived as the Blessed Virgin Mary about 2,000 years ago, and who was also one of my sister goddess. When I was 5 years old, when I was a 5-year-old avatar, that I was here on this planet to save the world. And seeing her looking lovingly into my eyes while telling me that, quote, I know the sacred work that you came here to this earth to achieve, my blessed daughter, and I also know that you will succeed in your mission even when the different trials and tribulations are placed in your path to try to keep you from fulfilling and achieving your crucial and blessed task. Avatar Galextra, the goddess who lived, the great goddess who lived as Lord Jesus about 2,000 years ago. That, and I read the content of this dream for you to be able to have you hear it, as she gave it to me a number of decades ago. So, the dream states, as the avatar revealed, that America and Canada had both disappeared completely from the surface of planet Earth inside the 3 oceans currently surrounding these 2 nations. Why, in the goddess's name, you would ask, would such an apocalyptic event ever take place, ever visit any nation today, in this case, America and Canada? Well, I can give you a body of reasons for why Avatar Galextra had such an apocalyptic dream as a 5-year-old child. Let's start here. About the coming to this planet by the great goddess to fulfill the second coming of the Messiah to planet Earth, which has been long expected for millenniums by millions and today billions of members of the Christian faith, and which took place on May the 1st, sometime during the 5th century fifth decade of the last century, on the twin Caribbean island with the three peaks known as Trinidad and Tobago, when the great goddess who lived as Lord Jesus in the past made an unexpected, made made an inconspicuous return to planet Earth like a thief in the night, with a new, different, and completely unexpected identity as a baby girl of color, instead of as a member of the male gender, as Christians have been hoping and stating would take place for millenniums now. Our Galextra was born as the fifth child and second daughter of Lady Yvonne, the being who lived as the Virgin Mary about 2,000 years ago, and her husband Lester Paul. And she came to this planet to continue the work that she has been doing with the human race for a number of millenniums now. And this work is crucial, it's critical, it's impactful, and it's paradigm shifting. The great goddess returned to live on this planet to bring information to all of the immortals living today as members of the human race. She wants you to each understand that you are truly immortals. In fact, you are beings of living light, as she states in her song, beings of living light, wearing mortal clothes of flesh and bones that you put on at birth to walk the face of the earth one life at a time. And she wants you to start to become aware of the fact that you each have been endowed with an abundance of spiritual or metaphysical treasures of all kinds, and that these treasures, as well as your true identity, have been hidden from you for a number of ages now by those who have made themselves lords and masters over your lives, livelihoods, hopes, dreams, and future from the cradle to the grave. Our Galextra, the day she came to this planet, returned to this planet to live as the female Messiah, one of the members of the United States military or intelligence organization, entered the maternity ward in which she was born on May the 1st, sometime in the 1950s, saw this infant goddess lying in a cradle next to her mother. He went over to where she was lying on her back, this beautiful baby girl. He saw a light shining in the center of her forehead. That light is your third eye, your mind's eye, your inner eye, your spirit eye. And he knew that this was the being that he was told, instructed to end her mortal life, to send her back to the spiritual realms where we all come from and where we all return to at the end of each mortal lifetime that we live as a member of the human race throughout the ages. So he went up to this divine being, less than 1 day old, placed one of his hands over the mouth and nostrils of this divine being with the intention of suffocating her to death. Immediately after he performed this despicable act, one of the Avatar sister goddess told her telepathically, Avatar, hold your breath and play dead. The great goddess heard this message from one of her sister goddess, and instantly she complied. She held her breath and played dead, and she stayed in that state for a long time, long enough for this unseen assassin to be convinced that he had taken the mortal life of this divine being from her. That unforgettable morning inside that maternity ward of a hospital located in Port of Spain on the beautiful tropical twin Caribbean island known as Trinidad and Tobago. Since that day, the Avatar has lost her mortal life, according to information given to me by some of her sister goddesses over the decades. She has had her mortal life taken from her, where her human body has flatlined died a total of 16 different times for up to 10 hours or more each time. But every time that the great goddess has been robbed of her mortal life, a number of her sister goddesses resurrected the human body of her divine majesty back to life, and she returned into her body to continue to live. Over the years, Avatar Galextra, because of the number of times that her mortal body has died, flat and died with no vital signs, she has experienced a life of bleeding on the inside. The blood wasn't seen by human eyes, but she was bleeding on the inside, and her human body went through a period of changing into different temperatures from hot to cold continuously for a number of years because of the number of times that this remarkable human body owned by the great goddess have had its immortal life terminated. Now, why in the world would America and Canada be seen in a dream by the great goddess as a child as two nations who disappeared from the surface of Lady Gaia within a matter of most likely days? The Statue of Liberty, sitting on the island of Long Island, stands about 315 feet tall. Half of that is the height of Lady Liberty. The other 150 something feet is the platform that she stands on, majestically, elegantly, and confidently, welcoming all people to that land to bring their poor and their destitute, bring those who are looking for a land where they can get opportunities to live, to grow and thrive, to come to that land. So, when the Avatar saw Lady Gaia's body, Lady Liberty's body, completely covered in water, and when she was told by one of her sister goddesses that the entire nation of America had been pulled inside the oceans, the three oceans which currently surrounds it, and also to that Canada also met the same fate. It meant that those two nations were engulfed in water that reached hundreds of feet in height. Nothing like this has been seen on this planet for a long time now. Well, you've heard about the flood, the great flood in Noah's day, when the entire planet was covered in water, or the mountains as well, completely covered. And almost all of the mortal inhabitants lost their lives, except for those who were sheltered in an ark built by the prophet Noah. And he and his wife and three sons and their wives were the only human beings who survived that great flood, according to the records given to you by Christianity, along with a number of different species, life forms, two of each kind, survived inside this ark for a number of, well, until the water that covered the entire surface of Lady Gaia had receded, so that those inside the ark were able to start a new life. That story is not based on truth, it's based on facts compiled by human beings who write history to reflect their own view of life and to write stories that they want to write to show themselves as victors and conquerors and more. So, these two nations sank because Avatar Galextra has been targeted not only from the day she was born, but all throughout her mortal life by people who have been using a technology that allows them to create cloaks of invisibility. It's fictional. It sounds to your ears and eyes. I understand that. And they use this technology to create cloaks of invisibility so that they can move through the fourth dimension unseen, looking like shadows flashing in and out of the fourth dimension. One human being who represents every qualities that you can define and identify in the one who has been defined as the Antichrist. One human being today expresses and contains all those qualities that the Antichrist is known to possess when he comes to this planet to do his evil deeds, as the Christian text speaks. One human being has been attacking Avatar Galextra for decades. His name is known to you as Donald John Trump, the most unqualified, incompetent, disrespectful, disgraceful, dishonest, ruthless, reckless, immoral, vulgar human being who has ever held the office of the American presidency and probably who lives on this planet today. Donald John Trump has been coming into our home for a number of decades when a cloak of invisibility given to him by Nancy Pelosi. Shocking, strange, but true. According to information given to me by Avatar Galextra and supported by a number of her sister goddesses and gods. This technology that is being used to attack the body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit of Avatar Galextra is one that was given to scientists, men of science from the Avatar's birth country of Trinidad and Tobago, to use as a healing device to help keep the Earth Goddess alive, to help stabilize her planet-sized body on the axis, the unseen axis that she spins on at a certain speed. I don't know what it is recorded today. But Lady Gaia was dying because she was on the verge of being hurled, thrown off her axis because of the 6 years of continuous bombings dropped across her landmass by the 39 different nations who fought in the war to end all wars, as it's called, in World War II, including the two atomic bombs exploded above the cities of Nagasaki and Hiroshima towards the end of World War II by the American government. So this technology was given to two men of science telepathically by some of our Galextra's brothers. Sacred living planet-sized body from dying, and they managed to accomplish that task with the support of other civilizations in this galaxy. And this galaxy is teeming with civilizations of all kinds, solar systems of all kinds, teeming with life of all kinds, not seen by human beings because most of the inhabitants of every planet, every star, sun, and more, they live inside the interior of the planet. Every planet, every central sun, every star, the inside is hollow, pristine, and that's where the inhabitants live, except for planet Earth and maybe one or two others in the Milky Way galaxy. So, Donald Trump has continued to attack the Avatar for decades. He has injured her body continuously. He attacks her in the cavities of the brain with a dagger made of white light. And he's managed to dislodge her conscious memory from her conscious mind. When you attack the cavities of the brain, whether it be accidentally or intentionally, you disrupt the brain's ability to function in a normal way. And its memory is often completely lost or partially lost. So, what he's done, this being that we have called the Antichrist, because it represents all the disgraceful, dishonorable qualities of the Antichrist, Donald John Trump, he has managed to disable the avatar's memory and mind to prevent her from being able to speak to you, the people, to share the wealth of truths, knowledge, wisdoms that she has brought to gift to you so that you can each start to connect with your true identities as immortal daughters and sons of gods and goddesses and be able to access the vast wealth of treasures that each have been endowed with by the great goddess and be able to reconnect with your greater self, your higher self, with each other, with the different communities living on this planet around you, the animal communities, the plant communities. These beings, like you, they're beings of living light, as the Avatar teaches. And they have connections to the divine and to Mother Earth that human beings used to have, but they've had it artificially severed by those who made themselves the gatekeepers of your lives, choosing to control who gets access to anything and everything based on your color, your gender, your race, your class, and other external artificial qualities. And these merchants of death, these masters of deception, these criminals who are controlling your lives, they're doing so from the privacy of hidden places, doing so from inside governments, doing so using all kinds of deceitful, deceptive methods and means to control the course and content of your lives for a number of millenniums now. So they gave Donald John Trump this technology to use to move through the fourth dimension unseen and appear in any place or space that he chooses to do so. Imagine this pathological liar. Imagine this compulsive abuser, this being whose morals, manners, ethics, values, principles have all been desecrated and have all been buried by the bodies of wrongs he's committed in other lifetimes, by the bodies of lies and deceptions and deceit that he's engaged in different lifetimes and continues to do so in his current lifetime. So the being of living light that Donald J. Trump is almost completely blocked. You can't see the light that shines or that should be shining from inside the core of his being. So one human being today is influencing and controlling the content and the course of life on this planet in the form of this person known as Donald John Trump, the Antichrist for this age. And he's coming here attacking the female Messiah. He's killed her mortal body a total of 15 different times. He's tried to kill our daughter at birth. The day she was born, he went into the maternity ward of St. Michael's General Hospital in Toronto, and he picked up our princess, Mahogany, from the avatar's stomach, where she was resting peacefully on your mom's stomach, moved back, held her up, stepped back about 6 feet, held her up about 5-6 feet in the air, and dropped this baby girl onto the cold concrete floor. The avatar woke up during this amazing experience and saw that our daughter was levitating off her stomach because there was no one seen holding her. And she saw our daughter move back, levitating up, and then dropped on the floor, the cold concrete floor of that hospital in St. Michael's General Hospital. And when our daughter fell on the floor, someone in a ward next to the avatar said, "You dropped your baby." And the avatar got up off the bed, thought to herself, picked up our baby daughter, and said, "No, I did not drop my baby. My baby flew." And so for decades, we were convinced that our daughter, who is also a goddess, labeled today as Princess Mahogany, was also the grandmother of Avatar Galextra, who passed away when the Avatar was 2 years old. And the Avatar realized that, and so for decades, we were convinced that our daughter had levitated on her own and flown and then dropped in midair after she lost the will or the energy to keep herself levitated. We found out, though, when we moved to Scott Street about 8 years ago in St. Catharines, and Donald Trump started to show himself into our home as an home invader, we found out that he was the one who had come into that hospital and picked up our daughter and dropped her on the concrete floor, hoping to damage her brain or kill her mortal life. But the Avatar saved our daughter's life because he wrapped her bundle tightly when a nurse gave a baby to her hours before, and the blanket wasn't wrapped firmly. So the Avatar instinctively or intuitively decided she should wrap the blanket tightly, and she did so with a pin, and so that protected our daughter's life and her brain and her body from being damaged or from being injured in any way. Donald John Trump, the actions that he's taken against the great goddess for about 4 decades now, starting in the United States, where she stayed for about 5 years, he is going to cause America and Canada to be pulled inside the three oceans currently surrounding them in the near future, according to the dream of Avatar Galextra when she was 5 years old. Donald Trump has been coming into our home unseen every place we've lived in for, let's say, since Scott Street, or even before that, Spring Grove Avenue in Toronto. And he comes in, he steals things, he hides things, he torments, tortures, persecutes, terrorizes the body of Avatar Galactra, the body, mind, heart, spirit, and soul, continuously. When we lived at Scott Street, he was attacking our daughter with the same weapon. He would come into her home, he would attack her body, her mind, make her do and say things that she would never ever do or say on her own. And he almost he tried to destroy our daughter's mind and body and was unable to do so because this family, we are members of the cosmic royalty. So we are wired differently. We're resilient, resourceful, adaptable, and incomparable. So the reason why America and Canada will end up inside the oceans they currently are surrounded by is because we have informed the American government for a number of years now about the crime that's been committed against this family by Donald Trump using this technology, wearing a cloak of invisibility, looking like a shadow, and attacking this family. He and Prime Minister of Canada one night in Scott Street went into her daughter's bedroom one night and they violated our virgin daughter by using the private part, as the avatar says, to thrust it inside her daughter's mouth unseen, causing her to be unable to scream out about the crimes being committed against her body by two leaders of two of the world's most democratic nations. And the spiritual mother and father of our daughter, Lord Jah and Emperor Sheba, they are infuriated, they are disappointed, they are determined to make sure that this crime against their daughter will be held, that the ones committing these crimes against our daughter will be brought to justice. And the crime has been committed against the avatar, myself at different times, and I won't get into the details because I don't want to make this broadcast longer than needed. Donald John Trump is currently trying to divide the United States of America into two nations that end up in a modern civil war because he does not want to see this nation, the US, working to become the kind of nation that different presidents speak about, where they are striving to become a more perfect union. He, this diabolical being, is determined to make sure that America does not survive as a nation, as a democratic nation, because he is someone like Adolf Hitler. He has these deep ambitions to become a dictator. He showed himself to be a tyrant, a bully, a demagogue, a totalitarian leader in a nation considered a democratic nation. And as you each are being told, he's under investigation currently for a number of crimes he's been accused of committing, trying to steal election, trying to overthrow the American government, coup d'etat, January 6th insurrection, stealing money from the people by robbing them of taxes he should be paying, trying to bribe officials to find him votes, trying to keep from being brought to justice for sexually assaulting or raping about 2 dozen women. He's got more charges against him than any other human being I can think of or heard about today. And we've told the American government, we've contacted the previous government, we've spoken to, left messages. The advocate has left many messages. I've left hundreds of messages for Nancy Pelosi, the one who gave Donald Trump his technology to use as a weapon to attack the great goddess. She's made hundreds of phone calls to Prime Minister Trudeau, to his office, left messages for him. I made some of those calls. We have made hundreds of phone calls to the St. Catharines Police Department over the 6-year period where we lived in Scott Street, 251 Scott Street in St. Catharines, in a 3-bedroom bungalow. We've made over 100 phone calls since we've been evicted, since we were evicted from our Scott Street residence, and I've been living in motels one after the other. We've lived inside 10 motels and 2 hotels. Currently, we're living inside a place called Travelodge Bonaventure, where we've made over 100 phone calls to the Niagara Regional Police to report crimes being committed against us by Donald J. Trump, especially against the avatar. And each time we call, sometimes they come when we ask them to come and take a report. And they come and they listen and they tell us they cannot do anything to try to solve these crimes because they are not able to see this criminal that we have identified as Donald Trump because he's wearing a cloak of invisibility. And we have done a number of shows online on Facebook, and then they disable our accounts. We've done dozens of shows on YouTube about the crimes being committed against the great goddess and her family and other issues that human beings need to become aware of and to start to look into. And so far, nothing has been done by the US government, by the Canadian government, or by anyone that we've reached out to, because they tell us or give the impression to us that when we speak about cloaks of invisibility and people being able to teleport themselves through the 4th dimension, we're talking science fiction. We are people, they say, or suggest or imply, have overactive imaginations, or they often suggest that we have mental health issues. So this family, a family of 3, there were 4 of us, but our son is on his own because he was pushed out of our family. The 3 of us, 3 members of the African Canadian family from the tropics. Our daughter was born in this country. I was born on the island of Jamaica. My wife on the island of Trinidad and Tobago. We have been forced to live in a constant state of stress, duress, crisis, sleep deprivation, and trauma over and over again on a daily, nightly, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis for over 4 decades now. In fact, in 1990, we went on Toronto Street to live as a homeless family, a couple with 2 children and our dog, Sheba. We lived in our car for over 8 months in Toronto, a Subaru 82, no radio, no stereo, and we lived on Toronto streets. We lived for a week inside the grounds of New City Hall, right in front of the statue of Sir Winston Churchill, one of the war heroes from the Allied nations who won World War II against Adolf Hitler and company. And we spent 244 days and nights living inside the parking lot of Chitwood Park in Toronto, in Downsview, Ontario, where we lived in the park in the daytime for days. In fact, we, we, we lived in the park and our home was inside the car. And then after 144 days and nights, some caring supporter brought us a dead GMC van, and we spent 100 more days and nights in the park, living inside that van, sleeping on a double bed, all four of us, being tortured, tormented, persecuted, harassed, daily and nightly. Details I can't give to you now because I don't have the time to even try to begin to do so. So, the question of why the nation of America and Canada would be pulled inside the three oceans surrounding them in the course of the lifetime of our Galextra is one which you, the people, have to start to look into. Because the dream the Avatar had is not something she made up. It was given to her by the spiritual hierarchy for her to be able to have that information and be able to share it with you, the people, at some point in time in the future, which she's done or tried to. And this family today, we're living in a state of poverty, economic poverty, as social outcasts and political prisoners of this government, Canada. And we're living on ODSP. People who are on ODSP, disability, often are placed there because they have physical disability or mental disability. So the idea is by forcing us to go on ODSP, we will be seen as people whose thoughts and views should not be respected or valued or taken seriously. So, my fellow mortals, beings of living light, immortal beings of living light, wearing mortal clothes of flesh and bones, today living as members of the human race, I want you each to start to look into issues about your life that you have not been given the right, the support, the respect, or the responsibility to do by those who control your thinking and control the way you view the world and the way you react in the world you live in. So I'm going to close this broadcast today and thank you for watching and for listening. If you like the content of what you've heard, then I ask for you to like it and to share it with others so that they can start to see the world through lenses that are not so narrow and narrow-minded and foggy and deluded and delusional as most of you have been taught to view and experience and express yourselves as members of the human race today. Thank you for watching and for listening. Blessings to each of you. And on behalf of Avatar Galextra, my beloved wife, the great goddess who is being terrorized and traumatized and who is a shadow of herself, even though she's one of the most beautiful, magnetic, radiant beings on this planet today. And when you see the way she looks currently, you will wonder, well, how could she be? Well, she is. And when she is restored and rejuvenated and brought back into herself, and all the damage is done to her body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit, repaired and healed, you will see the great goddess shining again and soaring like the beacon of light that she is. And as the mother of all of you and all of creation that she has known herself to be for longer than you can even imagine time, and existence have been in existence. So, blessings to you. And for myself, Commander and Dragon, and my beautiful, magnetic, radiant wife, close friend, inseparable companion, and spiritual teacher, have a good day and goodbye. I love you too.
You love me too, darling.
I know. I know.